They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But to be honest, you can break your fast at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m. There's really no right time to do it. But I think we can all agree that breakfast food is superior, regardless of what time you eat it. If you really want to rise and thrive, you should start with a delicious and filling breakfast. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Amanda, aka Fit Food AE, and today we're making 30 high protein, low calorie breakfast recipes. So let's get started, shall we? So you guys know I love a good dessert for breakfast kind of recipe. So we're going to start off strong with Mars Bar overnight oats. Overnight oats are a great meal prep recipe. You could just make them the night before, pop them in the fridge, and then enjoy them in the morning. Really portable as well, and you don't have to microwave them. Or you can even make them just like a few hours in advance. What I usually do for my overnight oats recipes is I make like the oat base first, and then I make the ganache. I layer the oat base in the Tupperware, and then I put the ganache on top. For this one in particular, we have the oat base, but then we also have the Biscoff spread because it's Mars Bar overnight oats. So it's like chocolate, caramelly. It's so, so good. You can wet the back of a spoon to spread it out and make it a little bit easier. But then, yeah, obviously the oats are going to thicken in the fridge overnight or just with like 3 hours in advance, and then you're good to go. These look so, so good. By the way, guys, this Tupperware is from HomeSense. It's a store in Canada, and they don't have an online store. I'm really, really sorry because a lot of people have been asking me for a link, but I'll try to find a similar one and then link that. So for this next one, we have tiramisu overnight oats. So this is actually my favorite overnight oats recipe I've ever made. I got the inspo on TikTok. I feel like a lot of people are making this recipe, but I want to put my own twist. I just put cold coffee in there, and then you set that aside and make the ganache. So I just blended the ricotta and Greek yogurt, and then I mixed everything else in. I should have just blended that layer all together. You're definitely going to want to blend that layer together because the ricotta can be a bit like chunky otherwise. So you're going to put the oat layer first, then the cream layer, and then spread it out evenly. You're just going to put it in the fridge. After spreading it out evenly, you're going to top it with a bit of the unsweetened cocoa powder because that's what tiramisu looks like. I also have like an actual tiramisu recipe in my dessert cookbook, so you guys can check that out. But if you want something for breakfast, these overnight oats will definitely do. They're under 400 calories and 40 grams of protein for the whole thing. Need I say more? They look so good. I remember when I made this recipe and tried it for the first time, I like audibly gasped because I was like, oh my God, this is going to be one of those recipes that is super popular and I can't wait to show to the world. Next up, we got birthday cake overnight oats. Now, it doesn't need to be your birthday to try these. Even if you don't have sprinkles, you could just make like vanilla overnight oats if you want. By the way, for all of these overnight oat recipes, I'm using PE Science. Of course, it is a whey casein blend for protein powder. If you want to purchase from PE Science, please use my discount code FIT15 or use the link in the description. But otherwise, you could just use any other protein because you're not baking this recipe, which again is great because it's a no-bake recipe. It's funny how there are so many types of oats. Like there's overnight oats, microwave oats, baked oats. There's just so many ways to enjoy them. But I feel like overnight oats are best if you are busy and don't have time in the morning. I feel like baked oats are amazing, but they just take a bit longer. But there'll definitely be some baked oats in this recipe for you guys to try. I love the way these birthday cake overnight oats turned out. So good and so sweet and delicious. Next up, we've got lemon chia seed overnight oats. Now, hear me out. I know it sounds healthier than the others, but trust me, it is superior. I will say for this recipe, I could have maybe added a bit more liquid, so feel free to add a bit more Fairlife or a bit more of the non-fat Greek yogurt. But yeah, to zest a lemon, I literally just take a cheese grater and I scrape the outside of a lemon. I think that's like how you're supposed to do it. I know there's like actual lemon zesters you can get, but there's no use wasting money on kitchen appliances that you're only going to use for one specific thing. I'm all for like using different kitchen appliances to do things you're maybe not supposed to, like toasting bread in the air fryer. But yeah, this looks so good. You're going to put it in the fridge overnight and enjoy it. I absolutely love the way this turned out. I love lemony things, and the chia seeds are a nice touch and they add more protein. If you don't have lemons and only have lemon juice, you could just use that as well. You don't necessarily need the lemon zest. Lastly, for the overnight oats, we've got Oreo / cookies and cream. Now, you'll notice I use fat-free pudding mix in all these recipes. This is just to make the oats like creamier, thicker, more sweet. You don't necessarily need it. You can omit it. If you're in the UK and you don't have access to it, you could also use custard powder. Also, I have a whole video that talks about substitution, so I'll link that here. But yeah, basically just put everything together. I use some Oreo baking crumbs as well just to give that extra flavor. This looks so good. I love cookies and cream things. And then yeah, just top it with a bit of crushed Oreo. If you want the macros to be even better, you could omit it, but I think the crushed Oreo is a nice touch. All of these overnight oats recipes have around like 400 calories, 40 grams of protein, because I wanted the macros to be amazing for you guys. Now, if you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna quickly shout out my new breakfast recipe ebook. It's called Rise and Thrive, and it contains 50 high protein, low calorie breakfast recipes. For the low price of $10 USD, you're gonna get 50 full recipes with the pictures, of course, nutrition, ingredients list, directions, and there's actually gonna be links to each recipe video at the top right of each page. I've included tips and tricks for most of the recipes, which you wouldn't see by just like viewing the recipe online. By the way, 22 out of the 50 recipes don't contain protein powder. There's truly something for everyone. Like there's pancakes, baked oats, breakfast burritos, muffins, etc. All included in one PDF. You're gonna get it for $10 USD. Link's gonna be in the description. Be sure to order it today. S'mores baked oats are up next. These contain no protein powder, but they still pack a punch with 31 grams of protein. These are super easy to make. They can pretty much be made in one bowl. And then you're obviously gonna need a 6-inch mini cast iron skillet. I've used this in so many recipes. It's included in my Amazon store, which is linked in the description. But yeah, I poured the batter in, put like half the chocolate chips, then pour a bit more batter in and put the rest of the chocolate chips on top, just to like distribute them throughout. Then I added the marshmallows and of course the graham cracker crumbs. Make sure to not over bake this, by the way. That's one of the best tips, because if you over bake it, it's going to be too dry. It's better to underbake it slightly and then just stick a fork in there and see if it comes out relatively clean, then it's good to go. But these look so gooey and delicious, and I love that the marshmallows are just like slightly charred on the top. Chocolate peanut butter baked oats. I get some questions about oat flour. People ask me, can I just grind up quick oats? And guys, that's what I do. Like I don't buy oat flour separately. I just grind up quick oats because I use those for my like microwave oats recipes as well. You're basically gonna mix the batter together, and then you're gonna crumble up a chocolate peanut butter cup, which I love chocolate peanut butter cups so much. I could literally eat them just like on their own. So I put some in the batter and then some on top. I usually do that whenever I add any sort of like topping or mix in, just make sure it's evenly distributed. And then yeah, obviously make sure to not over bake. And I just did some melted peanut butter on the top like that. You could also do like PB2, powdered peanut butter, which by the way can be found at any grocery store. I know a lot of people are like, oh, like how do you even find that? But I guess you can find it at your grocery store. You can easily get it like on Amazon. Next up, we've got Biscoff baked oats. Now, if you don't have any Biscoff cookies on hand, because I broke some up and put them in the batter, you could just use like golden Oreos. That's what I used one time when I didn't have them handy. Then if you don't have actual Biscoff, you could use peanut butter or like something similar to some sort of Biscoff caramelly thing, but truly Biscoff can't be replaced. By the way, I don't know why there was like little bubbles in there, but like honestly it didn't affect the taste and it was still really good. So these turned out so moist. I absolutely love them. They like literally melt in your mouth. I just put a little bit more Biscoff on top using the squeeze bottle that I have. Would highly recommend getting that squeeze bottle. Chocolate chunk baked oats are up next. I also get some questions about meal prepping baked oats. Like what you could do is you can mix all the batter ingredients together and then like put that in a Tupperware. And then in the morning, you can bake it so that it just saves you time rather than having to mix everything together. But I will say baked oats are one of those breakfast recipes where maybe you need a bit more time, or if you work from home or like a weekend kind of thing. But what you could do is bake it and then take it out of the cast iron skillet and then bring in a Tupperware. And you could just microwave it or eat it room temp. But yeah, you could also, instead of putting the chocolate chunks in the middle like that, you could distribute them throughout. Kind of wish I did that. And then I just love to add sea salt on top. I love a good sweet and salty combo, especially when it comes to like chocolate. I love to melt the chocolate and just swirl it all around the baked oats just to distribute the flavor, because you want to get the perfect bite. But yeah, this looks so good and moist. Would highly recommend making it. Lastly, cinnamon roll baked oats. This is the last of the baked oats that don't contain protein powder series, but they're still amazing because they contain a lot of protein. Obviously you got eggs, you got egg whites, you got Greek yogurt. But yeah, anyway, this one is a little bit more not more complicated, but has a few more steps because we have the like cinnamon layer as well as the frosting. But you're basically just gonna combine those cinnamon swirl ingredients in a different bowl, and then obviously don't chop your spoon in the batter. And you're just gonna put it in globs like this and then use a knife to kind of swirl it throughout, which I know sounds strange, but that's like the best way to distribute it. And then while that's baking, you're gonna make the frosting. For the frosting, you're using like a combination of the light cream cheese and then a bit of the 0-calorie powdered sugar. I use Swerve, and then just a little bit of the almond milk. Make sure to not put too much because you want it to be watery. Obviously, this would be better if you use like an electric mixer, but it's such a small amount, like whatever. And this was so moist and good. I like underbaked it slightly, so it turned out really moist and delicious. I think haters might say it's underbaked. If you want to bake it more, you totally can. But yeah, I just wanted to bake it like that day. So this next baked oats recipe, this one actually does contain protein powder. It's an oldie but a goodie. I used to make it like 3 times a week. It's like dark chocolate, sea salt caramel baked oats. But basically we've got chocolate, we've got Biscoff, and we've got like sea salt on the top for like an amazing, delicious concoction. But yeah, the Biscoff in the middle, that's like the star of the show. What I usually like to do is like either save that spoonful for last or just like swirl the Biscoff around just so you get the perfect bite every time. But yeah, definitely make sure not to overbake this. Top it with some sea salt. Sometimes I don't have sea salt and I just have table salt available. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but whatever. Either way, it still tastes the same. But yeah, look at that drippy Biscoff. Now we got some pancake bowls. This is a chocolate chip banana pancake bowl. I absolutely love these recipes because they're perfect for meal prep. You can literally mix all the ingredients together in this little glass container, then bake it and store it in the same one. By the way, I got these from Amazon. I'll link them in my store. Again, my Amazon store links in the description. They're 6 by 4 inches, I believe, and they're glass. So obviously if you bake them in like a different container that's not glass, like aluminum, the bake time might be a bit different. I think it'll be a bit less. But yeah, this looks so good. This is my favorite of the pancake bowl recipes. It's so gooey and delicious and chocolatey. And it's just perfect if you are bringing breakfast to like work or school. White chocolate raspberry is next. When I first made this recipe, I used like whole raspberries, but then I decided to crush them up and mix them throughout because they just mixed better. I know people are going to ask me if they could use egg whites instead of an egg. You could totally do that. It might just not like rise as much, but you could definitely substitute that. But yeah, going to put the raspberries throughout. And then also I sliced up a white chocolate bar to mix in throughout. And then I decided to chop it with a little bit of melted white chocolate as well. Just over 400 calories. This is so good and creamy. I did underbake this maybe slightly. Again, I kind of prefer underbake, especially when there's raspberries in there, but you could just stick a fork in the middle, and then if it comes out clean or mostly clean, then it's done. Blueberry Biscoff pancake bowl is up next. Even though I work from home, I still love meal prep recipes because even if you work from home, you're busy. Sometimes you could be tempted to just like grab a quick snack or just like not eat. But if you have something in the fridge, you could just microwave, then you're good to go. Obviously, this is a good recipe because you don't even necessarily need to microwave it. Like you could eat it at room temperature, but obviously it would still taste really good microwave. But yeah, maybe you can't bring the Biscoff squeegee bottle to wherever you are, but maybe you can. But obviously just put it in a little separate container as well. But this looks so good. I love the combination of blueberry and Biscoff. You could also crush up the blueberries as well, but I just decided to leave them whole. Of course, we've got a cinnamon roll flavored pancake recipe because I do cinnamon roll recipes wherever I go. So I guess this particular recipe is the only one out of this batch where it's technically not a one bowl recipe because you are mixing the cinnamon swirl layer in a different little bowl. But yeah, sort of similar to the baked oats one, except for this one, you're going to be using a bit of light margarine, monk fruit, cinnamon, and then mix it together. Then we're just going to put it in little globs and use a knife to swirl it just like that. It's just kind of like a light little cinnamon swirl layer. And then obviously the cream cheese frosting. I will say this turned out maybe not as smooth as I would have liked because again, you could use the electric mixer, but it just won't mix that well because there's just like such a small amount of it. But either way, it still tastes delicious. You could microwave it in like little intervals to make it smoother. But yeah, this looks so good. This is probably my favorite. Did I say it was my favorite? I feel like this one or either the chocolate banana one are my favorite out of the pancake bowl recipes. This is just like so decadent and reminds me of just like eating a cinnamon roll for breakfast. We moved on to breakfast burritos. So I've got a lot of these recipes. I love breakfast burritos. They're great meal prep recipes. I usually like to make 4 of them at the beginning of the week and then just eat them throughout. But yeah, this one is like a veggie sausage breakfast burrito. All these recipes are going to be vegetarian, by the way, but of course you could just add regular meat if you want. When cooking eggs, make sure to cook them low and slow. Don't make the mistake that I used to make, like putting the temperature too high and then burning the eggs. I always like to use salt, garlic powder, and paprika for the seasonings, but you could use kind of whatever you want. And then you just add the cheese right in there. And then sometimes I like to just turn off the burner once I've added the cheese, because the cheese just kind of melts like throughout. Important, guys, before you wrap the breakfast burrito together, you have to warm up the tortilla in the microwave for 30 seconds. Otherwise, it's going to break before you do that. But yeah, just put everything in the middle like that. For the barbecue sauce, I love to use Hugh's sugar-free. The calories on it are so low. It's so crazy. I feel like sugar-free sauces and stuff like that, that's just like a cheat code to weight loss, and you really shouldn't be using your calories on sauces. But yeah, you can air fry it for like 5 to 8 minutes. You could also just store them in the freezer if you're not planning on eating them right away. Yeah, these look so good. I love how bright and colorful they are, and I just love how crispy they are on the outside. These are a great recipe to make and eat throughout the week. You could also add more kind of barbecue sauce to the outside if you want. Tofu scramble breakfast burrito. I used to be a big tofu scramble person, and then I made it for the first time this particular time. I hadn't made it in a while, and it was really, really good. But for the tofu, I just use like paper towel and my own elbow grease to kind of press it. You could get a tofu presser, but there's just really no point. And you're gonna break it into pieces like this. There doesn't really need to be a formula for it. You could just break them into different size pieces. And then a little bowl, you're gonna mix the ingredients together to make sort of like the sauce kind of thing. I don't even know what you call it, but yeah, you're gonna kind of set that aside, and you're gonna use that later. And then we're gonna make that nutritional yeast kind of cheese sauce to go into the burrito. So this recipe isn't actually vegan because it has cottage cheese, but I guess you could replace it. I don't even know if there's like vegan cottage cheese, but you could use like vegan Greek yogurt. But anyway, try to distribute the sauce throughout like that. And then it's going to be this bright yellow color just because of the turmeric. This is basically used to replace eggs, like kind of a tofu scramble vibe. I used to not eat eggs. Like, I've been vegetarian for a long time, but I used to not eat eggs, and now I do. But eggs are vegetarian. I think maybe certain vegetarians don't eat them. But yeah, obviously make sure to warm up the tortilla for 30 seconds before rolling. Otherwise, guys, it's going to break. I've had that happen before, and then it's just really tragic. But look at how good that looks. It looks so creamy. That cheese sauce is amazing. And it's so bright and colorful as well. I absolutely love this one. You can even add some more sauce to the outside. I think I reserved some sauce, like not putting it in so I could put it on the outside. But yeah, absolutely delicious. Barbecue tempeh cheddar breakfast burrito. Now, tempeh is a bit of an acquired taste. It kind of has like a nutty taste, but I think it's really good and high in protein. I covered it with like the Hughes sugar-free barbecue sauce as well as some spices. And you're gonna cook that in the air fryer, but not before mixing your eggs together. Now, I'm really bad with the shells. I always have to like remove them after. I feel like I wish there was like an easier way to do that rather with your fingers, but you know, whatever. But yeah, basically you're gonna air fry the tempeh, and then you're gonna cook the eggs. Make sure to go low and slow, and I usually cook the onions first and then add the eggs after. You're kind of just gonna have to like swirl the eggs throughout with your spatula, and then obviously add the cheese in there. There's so much cheese in this recipe. So good. And then obviously the spices, we got salt, garlic powder, paprika. A tip I have for meal prepping these burritos is like, again, obviously after you roll them, if you're not planning on eating them, don't air fry them right away. Just put them in like foil or put them in a plastic bag and then store them in the freezer. And then if you're going to eat them, just microwave it for like 5 minutes and then air fry it for like 5 to 8 minutes, just depending on how crispy you want it. And then obviously you want it to be like cooked on the inside, which is why you're microwaving it first. But yeah, if you don't have an air fryer wherever you're taking it, you could also, instead of storing in the freezer, you could store it in the fridge and then just microwave it. But of course, it tastes better air fried. You could even, I guess, not microwave it and just eat it cold if you're super crazy. But yeah, this looks really good. I love how cheesy it is, and the tempeh just gives it a nice touch. By the way, a few of these breakfast burrito recipes only make 2 burritos, but you could always double up the ingredients if you want to make 4 of them. Next, we've got potato with vegan bacon breakfast burritos. Obviously, you could use regular bacon. I'm just vegetarian, so I use vegan one. I blend the cottage cheese before I put it in this, because if you put it without blending it, it's just going to be kind of chunky and weird. But yeah, cottage cheese is great because obviously it's lower calorie, but adds like protein and cheesy flavor. So I chopped up potatoes myself and I added like a bit of cooking spray and then a bunch of spices. But if you can buy them pre-chopped, that's totally fine too, kind of like pre-done hash browns. So this like vegan bacon, it's definitely nothing like regular bacon, but it's still really low in calories and high in protein, which is great. I just cooked on the stovetop. You could definitely cook it like in the air fryer if you want. And then obviously eggs, low and slow. We got lots and lots of eggs here. Now, do you guys prefer sweet or savory recipes for breakfast? Because I kind of go through phases. I go through phases where I'm just eating like microwave protein oats every single day. Like I definitely did that today. I went through a phase where I could like only eat savory and just like oats gave me the ick for some reason. But now I'm kind of 50-50. Sometimes if I have leftovers, like if I went out for dinner the previous night, I'll just like eat those for breakfast. I just can't wait. But yeah, I chopped the bacon up into little pieces with scissors because it's just easier dumping it in and then folding it. This burrito, I think, was like the hardest to fold because it just like had a lot of stuff in it. But yeah, by the way, if you want to know the proper way to fold a breakfast burrito, be sure to watch this video carefully because there is an art to it. I used to fold them incorrectly and I wish someone told me that they looked stupid because they look a lot more full when you fold them correctly as well. But yeah, I still don't understand though how people at Chipotle, like they can literally put so much in your burrito and it looks like it's gonna crack and then it doesn't. But I feel like it's truly an art. And I love my sugar-free barbecue sauce. Lastly, we've got Beyond Meat breakfast burritos. So you'll see in the recipes that are linked in the description. By the way, all the recipes are going to be linked in the description. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. But yeah, some of my burrito recipes will make 4 and some will make 2. I think I just had 1 week where I was making a bunch of burritos. And then obviously I just live with me and my boyfriend. So I didn't want to make too many. And then I just had too much food lying around. So you can kind of make as many as you want depending on how many people you have to cook for, like if it's just for yourself versus if you're cooking for your family, or maybe you have a big appetite or you're trying to bulk and you want to make more burritos for yourself. But yeah, obviously you need like bigger pans as well. That's part of the reason why I don't make well, I guess part of the reason is because it's only the 2 of us, but another reason is just like not having big enough pans and not having big enough burners on my stove. Also, this is random, but the one bigger burner on my stove, it takes ages to heat up, so I often just won't even use it. But yeah, anyways, this is back when I had my spice rack organized. We had like the salt, garlic powder, paprika shakers, but literally guys, those have ran out and I'm so lazy to replace the spices in the shaker because you have to use a funnel obviously. But yeah, you're just gonna wrap it up together. This is the very first breakfast burrito recipe I made, and then I was like so addicted. That sauce that I use, it's kind of like a nutty like sauce. I can't even remember what it'll be linked. But yeah, you could pretty much use any sauce you have. These turned out so well and so crispy. I remember when I cut into them, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna look perfect for the video. But yeah, I made these like so perfectly. The very first time I made them, I was like so careful with layering. These look so good and I'm so excited for you guys to try my breakfast burrito recipes. Next up, we've got these double chocolate chip pancake. So these can be made in a blender. You're gonna put everything together. These don't have protein powder, by the way, which is amazing, but they still taste absolutely delicious and sweet. So when cooking pancakes, it may sound like an easy task, but there is an art to it. First of all, make sure all the ingredients are fully blended and you don't have like oat flour at the bottom there. And then when you're heating up the pan, you're going to heat it up to like kind of like low, medium heat and then spray it with cooking spray. Don't put the heat too high, otherwise they're going to burn. So you know that they're ready to flip when there's like little bubbles. You could see that. And then it's kind of like caving in. I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of like raising up at the sides like that. That's when you know it's ready to flip. And be sure to not press down on the pancake. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I used to do that, and you want to let it rise. Obviously, you could top it with some like Nutella or some light whipped cream, but it tastes really, really good on its own. Yeah, these are so good. Cinnamon swirl French toast. So for this recipe, I actually had cinnamon swirl bread that I found in the grocery store, but you could just use regular white bakery bread. I find that that works the best for French toast, and I just love white bread. I feel like when we were younger, people tried to instill that like multigrain or like whole wheat was more healthy, and in reality, it's like has pretty much the same macros. I feel like I look at everything with just like macros. Obviously, you're getting your micronutrients and stuff are important, but realistically it has the same macros. But yeah, you're gonna coat it in this mixture. If you have mixture at the end that is left over, you can just pour it onto the pieces of bread or whatever, just like this, just to make sure you're getting all the full protein out of it. And then yeah, basically same as the pancakes, you're gonna cook it on like medium heat. Make sure to not cook it too high. And then we're gonna do the mixture here, just like monk fruit and cinnamon. Don't add too much cinnamon, otherwise it's gonna be too dark. But yeah, you could spray with a bit of cooking spray if you want, or you can just use a little bit of almond milk, or you can just put them in regardless. But yeah, these look so good. Honestly, they don't even need any toppings because they're so sweet. I like to top it with a little bit of sugar-free maple syrup, and these literally look like Cinnamon Toast Crunch on a plate. So good. Carrot cake pancakes. Now, this is a unique one. I blended the carrots first because we just want to make sure those are fully blended before blending everything else in. The last thing we want is like chunks of carrots. We just want it to be like smooth. But yeah, I use my Zwilling blender for this. I work with Zwilling on a few different videos. I absolutely love this blender. It literally changed my life. It's such good quality, and it blends everything up so well. It works literally like a food processor. I have a link to it in my shop if you want to check that out. But yeah, basically blend the ingredients for the frosting together. You can use an electric mixer. You don't have to though. And then I top it with these bright orange waffles. I use my little mini waffle maker as well. If you don't have a waffle maker, you can also make these into pancakes. But yeah, this is a very good, unique recipe. And I absolutely love cream cheese frosting. I love how this turned out as like a super thick stack. And yeah, this is a great recipe to get your veggies in. Oh my God, guys, we are almost done through this video. So we've got chocolate chunk oatmeal bake here. Now the difference between this and my baked oats is that this actually creates a few servings, and it's more of like a bake, like a oatmeal cake. I don't even know what to call it versus like singular baked oats. But yeah, the batter looked so good. You're not going to blend the oats for this. You're just going to use regular quick oats, and you're going to mix everything together thoroughly. Yes, this recipe uses mashed banana. For some reason, a lot of people don't like mashed banana. You could use like pure pumpkin if you want in place of that. This loaf pan is about 6 by 9 inches, by the way. You're gonna spray it with cooking spray and pour everything in. Now, this does take about 30 minutes to bake. I will say if you put it in a glass pan, it will take a little bit longer. Just stick a fork in it to ensure it comes out mostly clean. But yeah, this was so gooey and delicious just because of the chocolate chunks. You can put a bit of salt on top. I actually put a bit of melted Nutella just as a little topping. But of course, if you're really watching your macros, maybe wouldn't recommend doing that. The serving size for this is 2 pieces, 450 calories. Of course, if you have lower macros, you could just eat one of them for breakfast if you want, or 1.5, whatever you want to do. But yeah, these are so gooey and chocolatey. So next up, we have a similar version of that last recipe, except it's like a blueberry flavored version, but you're gonna use vanilla protein for this recipe and the brown monk fruit. Mix everything together. I really need to get more of these glass bowls because I literally make most of my recipes in them, and one time it cracked and I need to get a new one. But yeah, basically just mix everything in this loaf pan. By the way, guys, if you haven't already noticed, I just like, a lot of these recipes, I'm stringing together recipes that I've already posted. So if you see like random text on the screen, then yeah, just disregard it. But you're gonna use frozen blueberries for this, and you're gonna add the yogurt mixture in there and just kind of like swirl it throughout. You don't necessarily need to use frozen berries, but I just find it yields the best results. But look at how pretty this looks. Looks so good. Try not to overbake this recipe because again, it's gonna be too dry. I topped it with a bit of the Swerve powdered sugar mixture mixed with a bit of water, but that's completely optional. It does make it more sweet though. Maple cinnamon waffles. So this is one of my first like breakfast recipes that didn't contain protein powder, and it was a massive hit. So I decided to make it into a waffle recipe. So yeah, I've posted this recipe before as a pancake recipe, but of course, if you have a mini waffle maker, I'd highly recommend making it into waffles. This one is from PE Science. I think they sent it to me for some specific reason, but yeah, I find that whenever I'm making waffles, the very first waffle you make in the batch is never a good one. It's just kind of like a test one. So I always put it in like the middle or the bottom of the stack. So yeah, but I always put the best one at the top because that's food photography for you. Yeah, top it with a bit of sugar-free maple syrup and light whipped cream. Breakfast sandwich time. So this is obviously very customizable, but I just made it for one person. You're gonna put some nutritional yeast with the egg. I did heat up the pan a little bit too much for this particular recipe in this video, but you guys get the idea. Kind of like make an omelet thing and fold it over like that. with English muffins, you can toast them in the toaster or air fry them. And you're just going to kind of assemble it there with the veggie sausage patty and the cheddar cheese. I just love using cheddar cheese in breakfast sandwiches. I think it's superior. But yeah, I would highly recommend using like a maple sausage breakfast patty. This one was from Gardein. You can obviously use regular meat as well. But yeah, you're going to assemble it all together. This looks small, but it's like super filling. It could also easily be meal prepped as well, but I just decided to make a singular one for this recipe. But yeah, so good. Next up, we've got pumpkin pancakes. This is similar to the other recipe that I made. This has no protein powder. We got the light cottage cheese. A lot of people are like, oh, what if I don't like cottage cheese? Like, you definitely can't taste it, so don't worry about that. But yeah, this recipe is actually really sweet, even though it doesn't use any protein powder or monk fruit. That's because of the light maple syrup. You could even add a bit more if you want it to be even sweeter. But yeah, this is a perfect recipe to make for fall. Obviously, you're gonna use the tips that I mentioned before. Just make sure to let those bubbles pop up and let it kind of like round out throughout the sides, and you know it's ready to flip. And of course, make sure to not press down the pancakes and just let them rise. I feel like whenever I film pancake recipes, it takes a while because I make them one by one because I'm just scared to make them like 2 at a time because I don't want to screw up the video. But yeah, this turned out so well, topped with a bit of sugar-free maple syrup and some light whipped cream as usual, and then you're good to go. We're almost done, guys. We got pumpkin cinnamon rolls. So some might argue that this is like a dessert recipe and not breakfast, but I feel like cinnamon rolls can be a breakfast recipe, especially when the macros are this good. So this entire recipe has like 700 something calories, but if you eat one of the cinnamon rolls, it's around like 140, I believe. So it's still way less than like a Cinnabon kind of thing. But this recipe is super sweet. I absolutely love it. It's actually really buttery as well. It's a little bit annoying to make because you have to kind of roll of the dough. I use this like kind of rubber mat I got on Temu, and then you're going to put the cinnamon filling onto the dough and then just kind of spread it out. You could also make this into like smaller rolls or larger rolls if you want. Now I put the rolls inside a mini cast iron skillet because then that way when they spread out, they're just kind of like all bunched together, which I like, but you don't necessarily have to do that. So yeah, cut it into 5 rolls. I really like how the batter is like bright orange. If you don't have the PE Science pumpkin protein, lying around, you could obviously just use vanilla, but yeah, just bake it and look at how good it looks already. I topped it with a bit of the powdered monk fruit with some water or a little bit of the unsweetened almond milk, and that makes it super sweet. So yeah, if you're not a fan of that, just eat the cinnamon rolls on their own. Yeah, this is like one of my favorite recipes to date. So decadent. We finally made it to our last recipe. This is feta eggs on toast. I actually hadn't made this for a while, but I started making it the other day. So this is just like a trend from TikTok. I basically put feta on a pan, put a couple eggs, and then I top it with a little bit of more mozzarella cheese. You don't necessarily need to do that. But yeah, I always toast the bread in the air fryer, top it with some refried beans, and you're good to go. I love everything bagel seasoning. I feel like this makes the biggest difference. But yeah, this is a good breakfast recipe because it has eggs, but it can also make a good lunch recipe. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed these recipes, and I'm sure you're looking for more breakfast recipes, so I'll link a video here that you should watch next. And please be sure to purchase my new breakfast ebook called Rise and Thrive. The link will be in the description. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends as it really helps the channel. And I post new videos every week. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.